real, raw, and uncut. Like there is no sugarcoating. We're real about it. If you're real people, message us. Raw and Uncut.
What's up, everybody, and welcome back. Super excited to be with you here again today. Hopefully you've been doing great since the last episode we had. Guys, if you're loving the show, do me a favor. Go ahead and hit the subscribe button here on YouTube, or you can subscribe to your favorite podcast platform and let us know how you're loving the show. Feel free to leave us a 5-star review. And if you'd like to follow me on social media, you can at The Official Justin Ford. Again, at The Official Justin Ford. You can find me on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, and also here on YouTube. We got another great episode in store for you today. But before we get into that, I wanted you to know this episode is brought to you by my friends over at Next Door Lending. Next Door Lending is a team of professionals that believe everyone should be treated as if they live next door. The founders and team members have more than 150 years of combined experience helping clients all over the country choose the best loan program to help you accomplish your goals. Next Door Lending is currently licensed in more than 23 states and has a team of over 100 loan professionals specializing in helping you get the best rate and terms. Whether you're looking to refinance your home or you're looking to purchase your next home, call my friends over at Next Door Lending today at 888-885-3667 or visit their website at nextdoorlending.com and you'll be the next one to move into the neighborhood. Guys, again, another great episode in store. Welcome back, Joy Ford. This is my beautiful wife. Another episode of Real, Raw, and Uncut.
Hey, I thought you were giving me a new last name.
Joy Ford.
Fod.
Joy Fod.
How did you say that?
No, Joy Ford.
It.
Yep. And
hey
we
guys.
also have a special guest. Coach Kathleen's in the house.
Hello.
Yep. So
special one.
Yeah, definitely going to be a great episode. And, for those of you guys that have obviously been following the show, you would have heard, Joy and I, even last week, we talked about, getting the right habits and goals set up for 2023.
Yes.
We also, talked about the journey that we've both been on over the last year. And we've been doing this podcast now for a year. And for those of you guys listening, I shared my journey early last year about how I had gotten SIBO and had some issues with my health, and even mentioned Coach Kathleen and said that we'd have her on the show. And so we're super excited to have you. How you doing, Kathleen?
I'm doing great.
Good.
Starting the new year fresh,
Yep.
healthy.
It's a new year. It's a new year. And I think,
Blessed.
yeah, super blessed. And I think it's great to have you on the show because you bring so much value, to the people that are listening about health, because I think there's a lot of misconceptions. I think a lot of times people get confused as what to do with health because there's so many different fads, diets, do this, vegan this, keto this, and all this. And I think, and I know for myself, and I've shared this with you, and I've even shared this, with the listeners, is that I struggled along the journey because I always, you hear this works for this person, South Beach diet or this or that, and you try it for yourself. And it's like, it's not customized to your body, and it wasn't until, how I met you was, and Joy knows this, is that, I started experiencing all this bloating and just, after I would eat, my stomach would swell up like a balloon, like I was pregnant, and it was just super weird, and we just couldn't put our hands on it. And then Joy was like, hey, maybe you need to meet my friend Kathleen.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so we decided to invest into Coach Kathleen and have her help us on all like eating, health, accountability with fitness, and just, it's been the best year of my life, honestly.
Yeah, Joy, you've been doing great. Yeah. I haven't been doing as great, but I've definitely been.
No, but you've changed a lot.
Oh, I've changed a ton.
Yeah.
And Kathleen, you helped me.
Well, you look great.
Yeah, thank you. Well, you've been a big contributor to that. And so before I have you introduce yourself, just to remind the listeners, so the way that you and I were connected was when you kind of heard some of the symptoms that I was having, you had said, I think you have SIBO.
Yeah, immediately as soon as I heard you were saying, I'm bloated, I have gas, and a lot of digestive issues. The first thing I think when someone has chronic bloating, because that is really one of the number one symptoms of SIBO.
Right.
However, SIBO presents many different symptoms that are not seemingly digestive at all.
Right.
You can get horrible anxiety that comes out of nowhere that's almost untreatable.
Right.
You can get migraines.
Yeah.
SIBO can cause chronic migraines. So a lot of people are walking around with migraines and have no idea why.
Yeah.
And they've never had migraines in their life. They can have chronic digestive issues. SIBO can lead to leaky gut and all kinds of food sensitivities.
Yep, which it did for me.
It can lead to joint pain. There's so many different things that SIBO can lead to.
And so for those that are listening that maybe didn't hear my initial episode or don't even know what SIBO is, what is SIBO? Because I asked you, I'm like, what do you mean? What is SIBO?
Well, actually, let's go back for one step before we talk about that.
Okay.
Kathleen, can you just explain who you are, what you do, what your background is?
Yeah,
Just
let's
real
do
quick?
that first. Yeah.
So my name is Kathleen Freydl. I am
Coach Kathleen.
Coach Kathleen.
Yeah.
I think I got the name Coach Kathleen because I coached middle school track at Norfolk Christian for almost 10 years.
Nice.
And I coached Tiara, her daughter, and many of my friends' children.
Yep.
So that's really been a joy and a blessing to be able to do that. But so that's why people call me Coach Kathleen, I think. But other reasons as well, because a lot of people know me as the health lady.
Yep.
As I was, going through Norfolk Christian with my kids, I did a lot of wellness weeks, things like that, to educate the school, the kids on what do we put into our bodies so we can be ready to learn, so we can have energy, so we can thrive, so we can be our best self to everybody around us, so we can have a good mood.
Yeah.
So what brought me into this is, and hopefully I won't get choked up.
And if you do, it's okay. We've
I
had
know.
many people cry in the show.
I do almost
so
every
you
day.
have, so you have permission to just don't feel bad.
Yes.
Yeah.
So going back, let's see, probably about 12 and a half years ago, my youngest son was diagnosed on the autism spectrum. So he was my third son. So he did develop normally in many ways. He was talking. He was very social. But because he was my third son, I noticed some things that just weren't right. But everybody was like, oh, he's fine, don't worry. And I'm like, no. So I started having him tested. And in the first few tests we got done, they said, no, he's fine. There's nothing wrong. But I just knew in my heart, because he was my third child, things weren't right. So I took him to U of M, where they have a multidisciplinary clinic, where they have like a pediatric psychiatrist, neurologist, and they test on many levels, not just academically, but behaviors, psychiatry, all of it.
Yeah.
And he was diagnosed on the autism spectrum.
Yeah.
So as you can imagine, at the time, it was very devastating.
Right.
Extremely devastating.
Yeah.
Because we all just want the best for our children, right?
Absolutely.
We have hopes and dreams, and for them. And so I just, I was always health minded my whole life, and I said, I really believed in my heart from having other children that autism was simply a label that our society puts on a lot of other things.
Right.
Most children on the autism spectrum.
Yeah.
Most of them tend to have leaky gut.
Yep.
They tend to have gut infections, like sometimes not necessarily SIBO, but candida overgrowth, bacterial overgrowth in the gut.
Right.
Many of them have toxic metal exposures from vaccines. So there's a lot of things going on typically, and we label it as autism, and autism is real.
Yeah.
But I don't necessarily believe it's genetic. I believe it's a combination of all the different chemicals in our food supply.
Vaccines.
I do play a role. I don't think they're the number one cause, but I do believe they play a role because they contain heavy metals, and even if you take the thimerosal, which is the mercury out, then they just replace it with aluminum, and that is toxic to the brain, especially a fetal brain.
Yeah.
So I do believe they play a huge role, and so I believe autism, to me at the time, I said, this is just a label. I said, I know that my son can be healed. I know there's a way.
Yep.
I'm a very strong Christian. I have a very strong faith in God.
Yeah. Amen.
And I said, I know this child can be healed.
Yeah.
It might take a lot of work.
Yeah.
And I just felt in my heart, and I started seeking out functional doctors, holistic doctors. I completely overhauled his diet. We brought in an in-home ABA therapist. We had an in-home ABA therapist for almost 2 years.
Yeah.
I learned ABA therapy as a mother.
What is ABA?
It's applied behavioral therapy, which is one of the number one things, that you can do very early on that can really transform the life. And if you do early enough intervention, can really, really help to recover the child and gain back some of those, years you lost.
Yeah. That's phenomenal.
Yeah.
And so before before discovering that your son had, autism, were you doing anything from a health standpoint prior to that? Like, were you on a journey? Were you exploring, how to be healthy for yourself? Or did this kind of start that path forward?
Well, my whole life, I would say I was health-minded. Mm-hmm. I always would read about self-help books, health books, anything that I could do to improve my health. Yeah. I would exercise all the time. But, I don't think we realized, until my son was diagnosed and really explored, got away from allopathic or Western medicine, which is like typical, MD traditional medicine. Mm-hmm. It really took me down a whole nother path of researching root cause. What could be at the root cause of what's going on? What could be at the root cause of autism? What could be at the root cause of Lyme disease? Because I was also diagnosed with Lyme disease. Yeah. It had a real close time that he was diagnosed with autism. And so I thought what could be a root cause? So it turned me into a root cause researcher. It really turned me on to integrative and functional medicine, which I really didn't know much about at the time. Right. So it really took me down this whole path of how does food affect our bodies? Mm-hmm. How does our environment affect our bodies? The water we drink, the air we breathe, what we put on our skin. Right. And even it goes down to the environment of like your relationships. Right. Stress. Stress, the people in your life, right. What are all the things going on in your life and how it all plays such a huge role in being healthy. Right. And I had no idea about this whole world of integrative and functional medicine, which really seeks to find the root cause. Allopathic medicine really, you go into the doctor and you say, I have digestive issues. Yep. Okay, well, you probably have IBS. Let's write you this script. Right. It might help you out. Mm. And most people get very frustrated and go from doctor to doctor and never really get help because allopathic or traditional Western medicine seeks to treat symptoms. Right. Mm. Whereas functional medicine or integrative medicine seeks to find what is the root cause so we can heal you for life. Right, exactly. So you can live your best, healthiest life.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's why your business is called
TheRootCauseWellness.com. All one word. The Root Cause Wellness.
I wondered how that started. That's awesome.
Yeah,
that's awesome. How it started.
And so you were on this path and you started working with your son and wanted to learn how to, basically help him overcome autism. Yes. And so you're on this journey. How long, tell us about that journey and what the end result was of you kind of going down this path and discovering, to look for the root cause and really how to help him with that.
Yeah, well, once he was diagnosed, I did start seeking out holistic doctors, functional doctors, and I was really blessed to discover some really, really amazing, talented, genius doctors along the way of my journey. So for probably about 5 years, we sought out functional doctors. We did a lot of protocols. So we did a lot of gut testing because most of these children and most people actually today with autoimmune disease and MS and, a lot of these different disorders there is a leaky gut and gut infections at the root to a lot of these disorders. Right. So autism is just one of them. Right. But really almost anything autoimmune starts in the gut. Yeah. So if you go back to Hippocrates, one of our father of medicine, he said all disease starts in the gut. Yeah. Mm. Okay. And this was so many centuries ago. So just amazing that he had that forward thinking to know. Yeah. Right. So, we started out, first of all, getting his gut tested with stool tests and different organic acids tests to see what was going on in his gut. What was the picture of his gut look like? And he ended up having candida, yeast overgrowth, bacterial overgrowth. So
as a kid?
As a very small child, a lot of gut infections. Wow. He had a leaky gut. So he was reacting to many foods he was eating, many healthy foods he was eating. He was reacting to. So gluten, dairy, eggs, all those different things he was very sensitive to. Mm-hmm. So we had a food sensitivity test done on him. And I really have had it done on all my children and myself as well. Yep. And I know you've had one of those. Yep. So really
I had to help him with that.
Yeah. So really overhauling his diet. Yep. Healing, doing lots of protocols to heal his gut infections, doing a lot of ABA therapy. And I would say by the time he was 7 years old, he was completely recovered. Not even an ADD diagnosis, nothing. Wow. When I took him back to Beaumont, where we started a gift program to learn the ABA therapy, I took him back about 4 or 5 years later. The psychiatrist who evaluated him And the doctor, the PhD, just said, this is just, I've never seen anything like this.
Wow.
It's amazing.
She's like, I wouldn't even diagnose him with ADD.
Wow.
Nothing.
And all you did is look for the root cause.
Look for the root cause.
Yeah. It wasn't like, that's all it was what is causing this and how do we correct it? Right.
Yes.
And that's, when we met. So now that was how many years ago?
Well,
When
that
you
was
got
about
that-
12 and a half years ago. He's 15 now.
It's 15. So you're on this journey and now it's like, you can't go back. Right. So now you're completely exposed
Now
to
that's
this
the stuff
whole,
she's learned.
So this whole new world you're completely exposed to now. And so obviously now you feel almost obligated to share it with the world because now you have discovered the root cause for a lot of things, and to be able to educate people is amazing. And so that's how we were connected, right? So we got together, I remember, right before the holidays, not this past year, but in 2021, we sat down. You're like, all right, I'm going to go through this health analysis with you. We did that. And then you sent me for some tests with a functional doctor.
Yes.
And you sent me for a test for my SIBO, test for food sensitivities, test for, and it came back leaky gut, all these food sensitivities, SIBO, and
You also had a candida overgrowth as well.
Candida overgrowth. And basically you said, we're gonna work on this and we're gonna move forward. And I was frustrated because I'm like, what do you mean I can't eat peanut butter and I can't have pistachios and
let me
I
just
can't have all the
mention,
stuff that I want?
Justin got these tests done. I did not, because I like to still eat certain food. I don't want to be told you can't have this and that. So unfortunately, he is a walking testimony of having Kathleen. I mean, she's held me accountable with like fitness
How
and
you
eating more
eating better
greens,
and-
not having like certain a lot of things I shouldn't be having on a like normally. But I did not get the test done because I think I was most nervous to know all my sensitivities and then be stressed about what I can't be having, because then I'll just sit there and have a ton of ice cream and be like, you know what, I'm over it.
Well, ignorance is bliss to a certain degree, right?
Yeah.
I mean, once you know, you're responsible.
And it was difficult, and it still is today. And I would say, and even last week when we had our episode, I was saying, I haven't been able yet to get to a place where it's 100%, but I'm moving forward, right?
Right.
I barely eat gluten now. I've cut so much gluten out because I know that was a big thing.
Yes.
We were on so many supplements and did a lot of treating of the SIBO. And this was so frustrating. The two biggest things that cause SIBO to flare up. Well, let's go back to that because we changed, so you could talk about your journey, but what SIBO is. But one of the things that triggers the gas, and I'll let you share what SIBO was garlic and onions. I'm like, I put garlic and onions on everything I eat.
Yeah,
like
his morning potatoes,
everything.
Middle Eastern food. We want extra garlic.
Oh my gosh. And it's like,
and then we'd go for a walk in the evening. He'd just be gassing, like burping,
and just so much gas.
Like,
and,
oh my gosh.
And to find out that this
was a burping machine.
Yeah, like this would cause it. And I'm like, what do you mean I got to give up garlic and onions because it's my favorite? And it's like,
it is.
But what's crazy, we were talking about habits last week and how where I am today on the journey, like very rarely do I eat onions and garlic anymore. And I know if I do, it's going to, I'm going to feel it. So I take the pros and the cons with it, but like how so much has changed over the last year because of, you helping me get on that path. So for those that are listening, what is SIBO, Kathleen?
Okay, so SIBO is small intestinal bacterial overgrowth.
Yep.
It is a bacterial overgrowth that happens in the small intestine.
Yep.
And so the interesting part about SIBO is it's not necessarily a bad bacteria. It's in the wrong intestine.
Wow.
So most of our microbiome is in our large intestine.
Yeah.
So the human large intestine has over 1 trillion microbial cells, and they can be good bacteria, bad bacteria, good yeast, bad yeast, viruses. There's all kinds of microbes. But the whole point is that they all kind of play together nice in the sandbox.
Right.
Well, when one has an overgrowth,
if
you get an overgrowth of bacteria or yeast or parasites, or when one is taken over, the army, then that's not such a good thing. Then you get what's called a gut dysbiosis or an overgrowth, and that's what can cause leaky gut, and leaky gut leads to food sensitivities. It can lead to SIBO and all kinds of other things. So SIBO is not necessarily a bad bacteria.
Right.
It's in the wrong place.
It's just in the wrong spot.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And often SIBO is caused by a motility issue. You're not moving your food. You're not properly digesting and breaking down your food.
Yeah.
And you're not moving it fast enough from the small intestine to the large intestine.
Which could also be a part of the bloating, right? Because I remember, and Joy says that this probably happened after my surgery, where, I had an ileus where a part of my intestine had fallen asleep after my surgery. And
for a couple days, it
was like 3 or 4 days, where they said, if this doesn't open up, like when I had my appendix removed, they're like, we're going to have to like remove a part of your colon. And I'm like,
we'll have to bag you.
You are not doing that. That's not happening.
So we prayed. That determination.
Yeah. So we prayed, and the next day it started working. But Joy swears that
ever since
there might be still like some type of slow move through there that has caused a lot of the bloating. Because when I get it, it's usually right at the top underneath my chest where it's really hard and bloated. And when I began to find out, from you helping what this was, you're like, this is going to be tough.
Yeah, it's definitely a mind shift. It's without a doubt a mind shift.
And it was tough. And so from there, you started helping us meal prep, and like, all right,
grocery
you got to
cut,
you got to cut this out. You can only eat this. And there were many days where I was frustrated. I'm like, this sucks.
I know. I remember days you calling me going, Kathleen, I don't know if I can do this.
Yeah.
It like, felt boring, but it's hard to start a new habit of picking more greens over whatever chips.
But what's interesting is how all this, it goes back to all the stuff that's in our food. And then you help me to really start to see what's in food.
Yes.
And one of the things that just blows me away now that I have the knowledge of it is how much poison and toxins is in everything.
Yes, it's everywhere.
Where, like ketchup, for instance, right? Like how ketchup has, and everything pretty much has, high fructose corn syrup.
Yes.
And yet high fructose corn syrup is illegal in other countries.
Yes.
But yet it's in everything that we eat. And it's just like, it's crazy to think that the majority of health issues, if not almost all of them, is by what we put into our body.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And high fructose corn syrup, which is really interesting, and it's in everything. That is one of the things amongst other toxins and stress, that is directly linked to leaky gut, because high fructose corn syrup pokes holes in the gut lining, which is very sensitive.
Yeah.
And then when you have holes in your gut lining, undigested food particles leak into your bloodstream where they're not supposed to be.
Yep.
And your immune system says, hey, what's going on?
Right.
This is not supposed to be here. And it starts to attack it. And that is how a food sensitivity is born.
Wow.
And that's how an allergy is born.
Yeah.
And
I remember after getting my test results back and seeing all the things that I was sensitive to, I'm like, this is nuts. And the crazy thing about food sensitivities is you wouldn't even know they're there.
No.
You know what I mean? Unless you go get tested, obviously the bloating triggered seeking out what's going on.
Right.
But then that opened up everything else, fatty liver, sensitivities, candida, overgrowth, all this stuff. And I remember leaving that doctor that day like, what the heck has been going on in my body? This sucks, Yes. And now moving down the path of working to get all that together,
right?
Catching it in time, because a lot of times, health stuff pops up and it's too late, and it all goes back to really trying to get to the root cause.
Right.
And so, and I know we definitely want to have you on again and even again, because there's so many things we could talk about.
Yeah.
But I know you had some questions that you wanted to ask.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask Kathleen. I just wanted Kathleen to share at least 3 things. Everybody's in the new year. They've changed their eating. They're trying to form a new habit. They want to be healthy.
Yep.
What are like 3 things that someone could literally change today or tomorrow morning as they wake up? That 3 things that they can do for their health
in 2023. Like, what are 3 areas you feel someone who's like, all right, I got to make a change, I want to start moving on this journey? Like, what are 3 things people can do?
Right. And that's a great question. And I think the first thing, I do have some notes here, but I think the first thing is really changing your mind about food. Because I think that one of the most important things we have to do is do a mind shift. I hear so many people say, I can't change my diet. It's too hard. I'm too busy. A lot of real estate agents are just, running, showing houses all the time, and they're very stressed out. And change your mind about food. Just doing some small shifts in your diet and your lifestyle can create big changes. So the first thing I would say is stop dieting. The word die is in dieting.
It is.
Okay, and who wants to diet? It's lame, it's boring. Like nobody wants to,
There's so much to do still.
You can eat. It's about shifting your mind about leaning into real foods.
Yeah.
So the one thing that everybody can do today without having their gut tested or without knowing if they have food sensitivities.
Right.
Whatever they're going on, because there's so much information. There's the paleo diet, there's the keto diet, and there's the vegan diet and plant-based. And everybody's like, what diet do I do? And there is no one diet for anyone.
Right.
We are all unique. And I cannot tell you, not knowing you, what the best diet is for you without sitting down with you for a couple hours.
Yep.
Right.
So one thing that everybody can do right away, regardless of is to eat real food.
Real food.
Start today. Start eating real food.
Yeah.
What is real food?
Yeah. What is real food?
And I think that's interesting because most of us are not eating real food because the food that's offered to us in our food supply is no longer real. It's frankenfood. It's made of lots of chemicals because the food industry has been really good at putting in these great chemicals like high fructose corn syrup and MSG to hijack our taste buds and make us addicted to junk food and packaged food. So one thing is just to eat real food. What is real food?
Yeah.
Real food is the food that God created.
Right.
Can you pluck it? Can you pluck it from a tree?
Right.
Does it grow in the ground?
Right.
Does it graze in the pasture?
Right.
So eating more one ingredient foods without eliminating anything, without going low carb or dairy free or gluten free.
This is just changing.
If you just start choosing real foods, it will transform your life if you do that one thing.
Wow.
Think about trying to eliminate packaged foods.
Right.
Stop eating fast food.
Snacks.
Stop snacking.
Popcorn,
and when you do
popcorn.
snack on apples with maybe almond butter or a peanut butter.
Yeah.
Or, or carrots and hummus or, And the other thing is just the mindfulness around eating. When you go out to a restaurant, when you sit down to eat, when you're with friends eating, because you're going to go to parties and have occasions, just have a little bit more mindfulness.
Right,
like
more of a conscious,
slow down and say, okay, what nutrients is in this food?
Right.
What is this food going to do to my body? Is it going to give me energy? What vitamins and minerals are in this food? Does it have vitamin C? Does it have vitamin, K? Does it have vitamin, A and E? And all these things are going to help my body have more energy and thrive and present myself better.
Yep.
And in a lot of other cultures, it's really an American culture to almost overeat. And even though we're full, we keep eating and eating it. In many other cultures, and some of the healthiest cultures in the blue zones, and we'll talk about that in a little bit, they only eat till they're 80% full. And when they're 80% full, they stop eating.
Yeah.
So it's really about having mindfulness about, wow, I am kind of feeling full.
Right.
And even though there's all this really delicious food still sitting on your plate.
You don't want to waste it. It doesn't matter.
Because, I think in Americas, we don't want to waste it.
That's where I struggle.
That's what it is.
I feel like if I leave something on the plate, like it's fear of loss, FOMO. Fear of missing out on this amazing food. I'm serious. That's how I've struggled over the years, but I've been learning how, or even to slow down eating, because I'm a fast eater.
Yes.
I notice that if I eat super, super fast, then I overeat because I feel like I'm still not full. But if I slow down, I get full faster and I don't eat as much.
Yes.
So
slowing
it's
down
just,
and like enjoying each
just,
other.
Yeah, it's just learning.
Eating, talking,
It's just
laughing.
learning.
Yeah.
It's
like
a process.
if you actually slow down, then you give your body an opportunity to digest your food.
Right.
Because when we eat in a state of stress, which is how most Americans are running around in a state of stress, and they're eating on the go, they're not preparing, and they're eating fast because they're so hungry because they were in meetings all day and haven't eaten for 6 hours, okay? And they're full of caffeine.
Right.
So it's like, I just got to grab something and eat it. Yeah. Guess what? When you're stressed out all the time, your body's in more of a fight or flight. What shuts down when you're in fight or flight, which is the sympathetic nervous system. Yeah. Your digestion completely shuts down.
Wow.
So when you're stressed out and you're eating fast, your body's not digesting your food at all.
Wow.
And when we don't digest our food, it leads to multiple digestive issues, amongst other things.
Yeah. And I know that's true for me, and I got diagnosed with a lot of those things. And so you said, number 1, right?
Eat real food.
Okay. Number 2.
Be mindfulness.
And then
number 2 is to get moving.
Get moving.
I can't even tell you how many studies there are on daily exercise.
Yeah.
So get moving, and it can be anything. It can be taking your dog for a walk, committing to movement every single day.
I love that about Kathleen.
Yeah.
Ride a bike, go swimming, take your dog for a walk.
Yeah.
If you're somebody who sits at a desk all day, setting a timer on your phone
Yeah.
to get up and walk around for 5 minutes every hour.
Yeah.
Do some stretching.
Yeah.
You know, if you work in an office all day or if you work out of the home, you know what? Put a treadmill in that room.
I was going to say, they
Put
sell
some
those
weights in
treadmill
your
things you
room.
can put
They
underneath your
do.
stand-up desks. Now people like walk while they're working.
Yes, yes. They sell things, little bicycle, you know,
Yeah.
you can pedal underneath while
Yeah.
you're working.
Yeah.
So get moving, whatever that means
Yeah.
to you.
Yeah.
You know, anything. Just get some movement every single day. Try and get at least 30 minutes of movement.
Yeah.
At least 5 days a week,
Yeah.
not every day.
No, that's super important. And I know when I exercise and when I commit to doing something every day, I just feel better. Everything feels better, right? You feel better physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually when you know you're taking care of your body.
Yes, it improves your mood.
Yeah.
It lowers your blood pressure. So it lowers your risk of any sort of chronic illness.
Yeah.
You know,
Overall,
I mean,
it helps
there's
everything else.
Yeah, it helps your digestion.
Yeah.
Everything. I
Yeah.
mean, there's hundreds of scientific studies on the benefits of exercise.
So repeat the 3 again for those that
Well-
are listening. 3 things that they can do starting today.
Well, number 1 is
Yep.
start eating real food,
Yep.
making healthier choices.
Yep.
Be mindful of your eating.
Number 2.
Number 2 is get moving.
Number 2. Oh, okay.
And
that was
number
number
3. So this is one that's really interesting to me. Number 3 is I'm going to say go blue, even though my daughter goes to
blue.
Michigan State.
Woo.
Because I know Justin is Michigan fan, so I'm going to say
Her daughter goes to state.
yeah, my
Go
daughter
blue.
goes to state. So go green, have a green smoothie every day. We'll talk about
Oh,
that
wait,
later.
we just changed that?
We'll talk
Just
about
go blue.
that later because that's one of the
Yes.
things I told
you
you
did.
guys
Lemon
to
water
do.
and
Yeah.
green smoothies.
But for number 3, I'm going to say go blue, and this is why. Even though I'm not a Michigan fan, I'm a Michigan State fan.
Go
blue.
Reminding you.
I want each and every person to think about incorporating more blue zone longevity secrets. So
Okay.
what are the blue zones?
Yeah.
Blue zones just fascinate me, absolutely fascinate me. So there was this guy, Dan Boutner, and he was an explorer and he traveled the globe, and I don't know if he rode a bike or ran, but anyway, he traveled the globe and he's actually in the Guinness Book of World Records. So many, many years ago, because he started going all over the globe, he started realizing that in certain pockets of the world, there were these people where they had a large percentage of centurions, of people who lived to over 100.
Wow.
And they didn't just live to over 100. They would thrive.
Yeah.
They were
Wow.
like at age 95, they're out riding their bike and having coffee with their friends every day, and they're happy and they're
Yeah.
they're
I wanna live
social.
with them.
Yeah.
They're like living. They're not just
Yeah.
here.
Yeah.
They're
Like
actually
enjoying life still.
enjoying
Yeah.
life still into their 90s and living well over 100.
Yep.
Wow.
And so he started doing all these studies in these certain pockets of the world, saying, what are these people doing different? And
Yeah.
there was 9 secrets that basically all of these different pockets of the world had in common. And I know one of them is Loma Linda, California. One of them is Okinawa, Japan. But there's certain pockets of the world called blue zones.
Wow.
And so one of them was obviously eating nutritious food, which
Yep.
we've already talked about, and
Yep.
only eating till you're 80% full.
Yep.
Another one is all of these, in all these zones, everybody would put their family first. And they met with their family often.
Yeah.
You know, they put their family first. They
Yeah.
focused on that family life, that community life.
That's awesome.
And a lot of these people surrounded themselves with positive thinking people,
Yeah.
people who are like-minded. So basically finding your tribe.
Yep.
And one of the biggest things, because there's many secrets, was they learned how to manage stress. So stress,
Yeah.
as we all know, is another root cause
Right.
of many chronic disorders.
Yep.
Stress has been linked to chronic stress.
Yeah.
You know, living in a state of fight or flight
Yep.
almost all the time.
Right.
Which is we're only meant to be in fight or flight, like if a lion's
Emergency
chasing
situation.
you.
Oh, yeah.
In an emergency situation.
Yeah.
Whereas most of Americans are spending about 90% of their time in fight or flight.
Wow.
So your digestion
For no reason.
slows down for absolutely no reason. They're stressed out from work.
Mm.
So one of the biggest things that he saw in all these different blue zones is that people really had the ability to completely shut down,
Yeah.
disconnect. They made it a priority
Right.
to disconnect from technology, to shut down, and to spend time either in meditation, mindfulness, yoga,
Prayer.
but prayer. they had very strong spirituality.
Yeah.
In all of these blue zones, spirituality and faith was extremely strong.
Wow.
A community faith was extremely strong. But their ability to manage their stress was really one of the number one secrets.
Wow.
And so that's going to be my last tip.
Yeah.
Is learn how to manage your stress, because I think it's estimated 75 to 90% of all hospital visits are due to stress.
Wow. That's crazy.
Due to stress. So stress leads to high blood pressure, anxiety, heart disease, heart attacks, Alzheimer's.
Wow.
Stress is linked to everything. So
eating
if we
a bag of chocolates.
So yes, overeating. Stress leads to overeating.
Yeah, overeating.
And overeating leads to
when I feel stressed, I do get chocolate. Like I feel better, but it's not the healthiest thing. I should be grabbing celery. I know it.
Chocolate is great though.
Yeah.
It tastes a little bit better.
Dark chocolate.
Than celery.
Kathleen taught us about dark chocolate.
Yes,
Yeah.
Dark chocolate.
Definitely
Lots
better.
of antioxidants.
Yeah. I love this, and I know
Yep.
that we could talk about this forever
Yes.
because you're such a wealth of information for people, and we appreciate you not only helping our family with that, but sharing that with those that are listening. How can people get a hold of you if they want to know more about Coach Kathleen and more about the Root Cause Wellness?
Well, they can visit my website at therootcausewellness.com, all one word.
Yep.
My phone number is 313-549-2225. You know, we live in a world where we can text and call anybody, so feel free to text me.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of freebies on my website.
I love that.
That talk about leaky gut.
Yep.
There's freebies that talk about autoimmune disease
Yeah.
and, you know, how to lower our toxic load from all the toxins. So all kinds of great freebies.
Repeat that website again.
TheRootCauseWellness, all one word.com.
Guys, reach out to Coach Kathleen. I can tell you right now that she has helped us tremendously, and I know that even on the episode where I talked about my health journey and my SIBO, you know, many people inquired and I pointed them to you, and so you've been able to help so many people, Kathleen, and we're going to bring you back on the show because there's so much more that we can talk about. And even the theme of the show, faith, finance, family, fitness. And real estate and so much more is we want to have people on. We want to talk about topics that help people, right?
Yeah, of course.
And being, you know, in real estate and in business, there's a lot of the stress and anxiety and all of those things. And so guys, reach out to Coach Kathleen. She is absolutely incredible. We appreciate you being here, Coach Kathleen, and we're excited to have you back on again. Guys, thank you for tuning in to another episode. Again, reminding you that this episode is brought to you by our friends over at Next Door Lending. Next Door Lending is a team of professionals that believe everyone should be treated as if they lived next door. The founders and team members have more than 150 years of combined experience helping clients all over the country choose the best loan program to help you accomplish your goals. Next Door Lending is currently licensed in over 23 states and has a team of over 100 loan officers specializing in helping you get the best rate and terms. Whether you're looking to refinance your home or you're looking to purchase your next home, call my friends over at Next Door Lending today at 888-885-3667 or visit their website at nextdoorlending.com. Again, if you're loving the show, hit the subscribe button. Subscribe on your favorite podcast platform. And as I always do, I love to leave you with two things at the end of each show. Number one, it's not how you start. What matters is how you finish. And number two, with God, all things are possible. God bless you guys. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you on the next one.